You're very welcome to That's What I Call Sport on 98 FM and our League of Ireland podcast. It's Jamie Moore here and I'm joined by League of Ireland footballer, UCD defender Evan Osam. Coming from his front room. Evan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad, Jamie, thanks.
Evan, thanks for having a chat with me. So, the League of Ireland season started on Friday. We're chatting on Friday afternoon, so we don't know the result of any games at the moment. UCD are playing in the Brandywell against Derry. Evan, unfortunately, won't be playing. What happened to you training late last week or early, very shortly before the season started?
Just training Monday evening. I ruptured my Achilles tendon. It was coming towards the end of the session. We were just playing five-a-sides, and I just received a pass, took a touch, and I stepped back to just look up, and I just felt a sharp pain in my Achilles, and I thought someone had kicked me, and I looked around to see who it was, and no one there. So I knew straight away that something bad, and I thought that it was the Achilles.
So this happened literally 4 or 5 days before the new season was going to start. Like, you couldn't pick worse timing.
Yeah, I was buzzing to get going, looking forward to the season, but unfortunately it happened, so I have to deal with it.
So when something like this happens and it's kind of an unexplained injury in that no one was near you, nobody kicked you, what actually happens in your head and what happens in the immediate minutes after you realising something was wrong but you weren't quite sure what was going on?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I knew nearly straight away that the Achilles that was a rupture, and as well I knew that it would be kind of a long time out, so I kind of got to terms with it quite quickly and just said I have to deal with it, there's nothing I can do, so yeah.
And things moved quite quickly from the injury happening in a nighttime session to an operation very shortly afterwards. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I went to St. Vincent straight away, which is only around the corner from UCD. I got seen to quite quickly there, and they just confirmed that it was the Achilles had ruptured, so they said that I needed to get the operation quite soon. I think they said within 48 hours, and yeah, luckily I got it done the next day on the Tuesday morning, so it went quite quickly.
Why did it have to happen within 48 hours?
They said that there was a chance that the tissue could die, the Achilles, if it wasn't done quickly, but luckily I got it done within less than 24. Okay,
so you've had your scan, you've had the worst news told to you. Who tells you that and how do they break it to you? Do they try and tell you like softly, or do they just get straight to the point and tell you what you kind of already knew?
Well, the physios came out to me on the pitch at UCD, and there's a test that they can do where basically they just squeeze your calf, and if your Achilles is intact, your foot should kind of point down, and if there's a rupture, there'll be no movement. So they did that, and they kind of just told me straight away that there was some sort of a tear there, and then when I went to the hospital, they confirmed it as well, that it was completely ruptured.
What are your immediate thoughts when you hear that news, like 4 days before the season starts?
Yeah, I was gutted, but as I said, I just tried to get to terms with it as quickly as I could. Like when it happened first, I was upset, but I kind of quickly just said to myself, it's done now, so just get on with it.
Yeah, I've never, had a serious injury, touch wood. I'm not an elite footballer or athlete, so I wouldn't really have a reason to have one, but this isn't the first time you've had a serious injury. It's actually the third. Give us the timeline of your previous two, and you've just had a really, poor couple of years look-wise, because you're still only 21 and you've missed a lot of football in the last couple of years.
Yeah, 2015, the end of 2015, I tore my ACL and missed just over a year with that. So I missed all of 2016. Then the start of last season, I picked up an ankle injury and missed the first half of the season. So yeah, I've been unlucky enough the last few years, but it is what it is.
Yeah, hopefully once you come through this, that'll be the end of the injuries that you've had. But we were only chatting before we started, and all three of Evan's injuries have come on his left leg, and he's a left-footed player as well. And you're also on a scholarship in UCD studying physiotherapy, and I think you were only learning about Achilles and those sort of injuries in recent times. But it's strange that all three have come on your kicking foot.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's just coincidence or not. The injury I got last year was impact, so I don't think that had anything to do with the previous injuries, but maybe that leg is just cursed.
So in college you've been learning about this. It's awful irony that it's actually happened. What had you learned about this injury before it happened to you, and when had you actually learned it?
Yeah, it was literally Monday morning. We had a lecture just about tendons and different injuries, and yeah, the Achilles was mentioned, and just kind of what happens when the injury happens, and a little bit about the rehab, not too much, but just that it is quite a long time. So I knew straight away that I was going to be out for a good while when it happened. Yeah.
And that's like, again, strange. It's an irony, it's timing, it's fate, whatever you want to look at. But to have actually been learning about it that morning and for it to happen like hours later, is awful to kind of think about it. And that you knew straight away what the repercussions were because you're studying to be a physio.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like, it was literally that morning that I learned about it. So I don't know if it's fate or whatever, but I'll have a good idea of the rehab now anyway. So that's one good thing. And
a lot of time in college, people are on their laptops or on their phones or not 100% paying attention to what's going on. When that lecture was on, like, can you remember what the lecturer was saying about it and the seriousness of it and all that sort of stuff at the time? Like,
yeah, no, I actually was listening to this one. It was something that I was interested in. To be honest, the whole lecture wasn't just about Achilles, it was about different tendons, so it wasn't going into great detail. But I did pick up a few bits, so they'll be useful going forward.
Yeah, so the news broke on Monday night into Tuesday morning as well, and since then Evans had a huge reaction on social media from the PFAI and the club, and a lot of his former teammates and current teammates have tweeted and stuff to kind of wish you the best of luck, and that support this week has been massive. So you tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I think it was kind of Tuesday morning that most people would have found out because the League of Ireland launch was on, and I think that's when it kind of broke. So I was getting my operation Tuesday, so it was probably Tuesday evening by the time that I kind of got my phone again. And yeah, I just had so many messages from loads of different people from football and family, friends, and yeah, it was nice to get that support there.
What type of support and what type of help, should I say, can that support be, knowing that literally the whole league is thinking about you, and even though it can't physically help the injury, it's nice to know that people are kind of there for you? Yeah,
exactly. It's just nice to know that people are thinking of you and offering their support. I got a few texts from people that have had injuries like that, just kind of explaining to me that it is a long road, but like that they've got through it and I'll get through it as well. Like.
And it shows as well the kind of League of Ireland family that we have, that even though you're a rival of a lot of people, like you've played for Shells on loan, you've played for Shamrock Rovers, you've played your schoolboy football, you've met lots of different coaches and players and stuff around, and that shows the kind of family aspect of the league that doesn't often get talked about.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I got messages from people from, I would say, nearly every club, like people that I've played with before and even players that I've just played against, ex-managers, even some supporters as well. So yeah, it was nice and good family aspect.
So you're in your lecture on Monday morning, and you've since obviously, I'm sure, done lots of research and heard a lot about the road to recovery and exactly what that is. What is facing you over the next number of months, the next year, the time scale involved and the amount of work involved that unfortunately you know all too well about, lonely times in the gym and on the physio table and away from the lads?
Yeah, well, at the minute I'm just in a cast and on crutches, so I'll be in the cast for about 2 weeks, and then when I come out of that I'll be in a protective boot for probably 6 weeks. So during that time there'll be pretty much no rehab. It'll just be kind of letting it set, and then once I come out of the boot it'll just be kind of getting the range of motion back in the ankle and stuff, and then just building up the muscle and eventually getting back to running and more kind of functional stuff on the pitch. But yeah, it'll be a long enough road.
Have you put a time scale on it yet in your head, or are you still in the process of trying to come to terms with it all?
Not really yet. The surgeon said to me that it could be anywhere up to a year, but kind of doing research and chatting to people, I think 8-9 months is kind of the maximum that anyone that I've spoken to has said. So I'll see how it goes. I'm not really thinking that far ahead at the minute, but hopefully it won't be too long.
And yeah, like, you've been waiting so long to play Premier Division football. I know when you were at Rovers, you probably had a couple of appearances in the Premier League then, did you, or was it just a cups?
Yeah, three appearances.
So Evan would have been 16 or 17 at that time, and played for Shells on loan in the first division, and I think were you in the first division team of the year, or you had a really good season certainly anyway, and then it's been at UCD for the last couple of seasons, has had a couple of injuries, but had a really good second half of last season. So you're kind of in the week leading up to what you've been building towards for a few years, and then you get that blow, but you seem mentally strong to, you just want to get back, and even though it's such a blow, you don't seem overly you know, you seem as if you're over the initial disappointment and you're now focused on the road back. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, at first it was, you know, hard to come to terms with, but yeah, like I've had probably worse before with the ACL, so I think I'm prepared mentally. Like I know it's going to be ahead of me, and I still have to remember like that I still am only young. I'm only 21, so hopefully I'll have a long career ahead of me.
How does an injury like this as well affect like the people around you? Like I know your mum Regina would have been here when you got home, and your dad Paul Osam, who's been on the show before, and Pat's legend, the League of Ireland under 16 manager as well, but was in Cork working and wanted to come back, and you said, listen, stay there, I'm in the right hands. And injuries like that, when your parents are so involved in your career, can hit them too clearly very hard. Yeah,
as you said, my dad was away, he was down in Cork, so he was a bit all over the place when he heard, and he wanted to come home, but I said, look, you know, you don't need to, I'll be grand, I'll get the operation, and you know, there's no need for you to be here. But yeah, I suppose it's hard enough on them as well, like they obviously want to see me doing well, and if I'm not playing and a bit disappointed and stuff, it's hard. But they've been great to me.
And they're going to see you more around the house now as well, because you'll be here for a little bit too, and you'll be watching telly and trying to come up with things to do, as well as your college course as well. How will you spend the time apart from your rehab? The fact that normally you'd be, you know, on the pitch 3 nights a week and playing games, and you know, today for example on Friday the UCD team would be already on the bus to Derry, and there's lots of time that football takes up that you're now going to have to fill with doing other things.
Yeah, well, I'm going to still try and stay as involved as I can. I was actually just speaking to Collie O'Neill earlier, and he said that to me, you know, to try and stay involved as I can. He said that he'll, you know, get me to do little bits, maybe even watching videos of the opposition just to keep me involved. I'll be at all the games and that. But yeah, I suppose I'll have time to do other things that I probably wouldn't have had, just even like spending more time with my mates and stuff, so.
Yeah, we spoke to Owen Weirin, who is now playing in the Northern Irish Premier League, but he was with Limerick at the time last year on the podcast, and he had a serious injury. And when he was at Bowes, and Keith Long, the Bowes manager, asked him to do the opposition analysis, and he really enjoyed that. He's now done some of his coaching badges, and he's now working as a coach in the Underage League of Ireland as well as still playing. And he kind of used that time injured to focus on other areas of football. Is that something you might look to do yourself?
Yeah, it might be. I've never really thought about like coaching and stuff like that before, but I don't know, it could spark an interest if I'm doing little bits, you know, helping Collie out and stuff. So yeah, might be something. Yeah,
of course you're becoming a physio as well, and it's this might sound like a strange question, but will it help the process given you are a physio, or you will be a physio, and you're aware of what the road is, or is it dangerous that you might be kind of overthinking stuff, and because you're kind of in that field? You know the way some people say, if you type into Google Achilles injury, you start to think, you know, you read anything and anyone in the world could have written it, but the fact that you're actually learning the proper techniques, that might help, but you might also overthink.
No, I think it will help. I'll understand what's happening when I'm working with a physio. I'll know what's going on, and it'll probably help me as well in my physio career, because you know it is quite a big injury, so to see like the rehab and actually go through the rehab will help me going forward.
Yeah, so as I said, myself and Evan Osam speaking here on Friday afternoon, so it's before the League of Ireland started. It's just a couple hours till kick off in the games, so we don't know the result of UCD against Derry or any of the other results as well. But result aside, on the first game, what's your thoughts on the kind of voyage ahead for UCD? Won the Premier Division, the first division last year, should I say, playing brilliant football, made the FAI Cup semi-finals, lost to Dundalk 1-0 and played really well on the night, could have got to the final, and you know, earned loads of plaudits for playing great football. And it's a young team, it's not the biggest squad in the world, but lots of talent. And your manager said to me at the launch the other day that, you know, we're not here to make up the numbers effectively, we're here to try and perform and avoid being in a relegation fight.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be tough. Obviously it's probably the first taste of Premier Division football for the majority of the squad, but as you said, like, we've got some very good players, young lads, and I don't think we're going to have any fear going into the season ahead. I was obviously looking forward to it, and the lads are as well, just buzzing to get going and hopefully get a good start tonight up in Derry.
Yeah, and it's something as well that, you know, we see with the League of Ireland a lot now, is younger players getting a chance in the league, and UCD are a club that, you know, really do that. And in recent years on the show, because UCD have been in the first division, for time reasons we focus mainly on Bowes and Rovers and Pats, because they're clubs in the Premier, whereas on the podcast we've done as much on the first division as well. But for people listening or watching who don't know much about the UCD model and, you know, what it is and what it does for young players. You might just explain to us a little bit about how it works and you know, the massive benefit UCD will now be to the Premier, even though some people suggest that they shouldn't be there because of crowds and stuff. But in terms of the whole package, it's a really, really good club and an interesting model that they operate off.
Yeah, well, basically, pretty much our whole squad is made up of lads that are on scholarship, so everyone is in college studying. So I think our oldest player is maybe 24, so bunch of young lads. But yeah, a lot of talent there. Some really good young players. Like you would have seen that 3 of them were in the 21s there, the home base team there a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, a lot of exciting young players, and hopefully show what we're about this year.
Yeah, Neil Ferrugia, Liam Scales and the goalkeeper Conor Kearns were in that squad, Stephen Kenny's first under-21 squad together. They beat the Irish Amateurs 1-0 in a friendly game in Whitehall in terrible rain there a couple of weeks ago. And I'm right in saying, so you go to college, you're on scholarship. Some of the players that live not in Dublin are on campus living there. You're living at home, but you sometimes go to the gym in the mornings, train in the evenings, in the summertime, train in the mornings, work on the summer camps. There's lots of stuff around being a UCD footballer, access to the gyms and the pools and physios and anything you really need, the high performance gym and stuff.
Yeah, as you said, a lot of the lads that are from the country or whatever live on campus, so we've got a good bond. Like, we're always kind of together when we're not in lectures and stuff, just around the place. And yeah, we're in pretty much, well, I suppose we're nearly full time. Like, we're in training probably 3 times a week, and then we've got gym sessions as well. Access to physios, gyms, great facilities out there. So yeah, it's a really good place to be. And
you'll now be making more use of the gyms and the physios than you would like to have been this year as well. But again, you know, some League of Ireland clubs, and there was, you know, some criticism last year of certain clubs with injured players and treatment and physios and that sort of stuff. But lucky is not the word, because you got a serious injury, but you're in a scenario where the club has the facilities and the people to help you get better.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have access to whatever I need. I mean, there's even an Alter G treadmill out there that, you know, are quite hard to come by sometimes, but that'll be useful down the line. So yeah, I've got everything that I need, so hopefully it goes well.
Yeah, so that treadmill it's a very special machine, which Evan will tell us more, because I don't really know too much about it, but effectively you can run but not put your weight on the ground, and in the case of an Achilles injury that's obviously important. How does that machine actually work? And it means you can actually still do the mechanics of exercise that you can't do physically on a pitch or on a road, like.
Yeah, so it's basically a treadmill that you step into, and you can set it to different settings so that you're only taking a certain percentage of your body weight. So obviously, coming back from an injury like this, at the start you're not going to want to put your full body weight on it, so you can set it to whatever you want, whether it's like 50% of your body weight or whatever. And you can still run, and as you said, the mechanics of running and stuff like that, so it's useful to have.
And finally, how's the physio course going overall? I understand it's quite heavy in terms of lectures and practicals, and you're in second year? So it's, you know, a course that requires a lot of brains and a lot of work, but how's it going and how are you finding it?
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it. It's something that I'm interested in, which obviously makes it easier. I'm going to have more time now to focus on the studies, which I suppose is a positive in some way. But yeah, I'm loving it, really enjoying it.
And do you have a plan? Do you want to work in team sport? Do you want to work in the sports surgery clinic type place? Do you have an area of the physiotherapy industry in mind when you do qualify and you do work in it?
I'm not 100% sure yet. Definitely sports. I'm not sure whether with a team or in like a kind of rehab centre or whatever, but definitely something to do with sports. Yeah, I'd like to stay involved. Well,
Osam, thanks a million for your time. Appreciate you putting on the opportunity for us to talk about the injury. The best of luck in the recovery, and we're looking forward to seeing you back on the pitch whenever that may be.
Thanks very much, Jake.